What is up, everybody? James Jackson here, back again with another video. If you're new to my channel, I do tips and tricks, news, and reviews for the film and video making industry. So if you do like the content here, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you can stay up to date on all the content going forth. So we got some interesting news coming out of Sigma. And it's not for lenses, which is what Sigma is largely known for, is their lenses, which are very sharp, but they're also quite affordable. For those of you that have forgotten, that Sigma also came out with a very interesting camera last year called the Sigma FP. And it was really interesting and intriguing for multiple reasons. One, it was the smallest full-frame camera to ever come out and one of the most affordable full-frame cameras, especially for what it was capable of doing. It was able to do 12-bit Cinema DNG Raw up to 4K for a full frame, and it only cost $1,700. Now, there's been a lot of issues with the Sigma FP. There's a lot of complaints, menu systems, the lack of a log or a flat picture profile. And then, of course, the fact that you really were stuck with only Cinema DNG because there was no really flat picture profile to really take advantage of those dynamic range. So you were stuck with Cinema DNG, but it was uncompressed Cinema DNG. So you were dealing with a lot of massive files. But if you were to use something like DaVinci Resolve, you could actually sort of make it be almost like a fake Blackmagic camera, because the metadata would be interpreted like it was a Blackmagic camera, and you would get all the dynamic range out of that. Well, we've got Firmware 2.0 coming up. A lot of this is reported by Cinema 5D, and they also have a video talking to a Sigma representative where they go over all the new features that are coming with this firmware update, which, from what I've been told, is out right now. But there's a couple major changes, and one of the major changes is the fact that this camera will support ProRes Raw, and it will also support BlackMagic Raw out through the Thunderbolt, which means if you connect it to the SSD cards, you can record Cinema DNG, ProRes Raw, or BlackMagic Raw. Now, obviously, this is all going to depend on what monitor you're using, because as of right now, obviously, Atomos does not support BlackMagic Raw, and Blackmagic's new video assist monitors, which do support BlackMagic Raw, they don't support ProRes Raw. So depending on the monitor you have will depend on which RAW format you will be able to get access to. But both of those RAW formats will be supported. Now, let's go through Cinema 5D's reporting. Firmware 2.0 brings major updates to the Sigma FP's full-frame camera. External ProRes Raw and Blackmagic Raw is now supported. There's also dual ISO enabled, and Cinema DNG has improved high speed and delivery frame rates. And those frame rates include 30p and 30p, and I believe it's also 25p in the 4K, and then it's 120 frames and 100 frames 12-bit for 1080. So this is very interesting. So this is a very interesting development. The dual native ISO, it seems like the native ISO bases are 100 and 3200. Interestingly enough, but so having a camera that has both Blackmagic Raw and ProRes Raw is very exciting, because I know a lot of people love working with both formats, especially Blackmagic Raw. It's been the more popular of the two codexes in terms of people who want to use it compared to ProRes Raw. But ProRes Raw is more widely accessible in other cameras. Now, some people are saying out there that this is the first camera to support Blackmagic Raw that is not a Blackmagic camera. That is actually not true. Uh, the Canon C300 Mark II and the Panasonic EVO 1 both allow Blackmagic Raw. If you have the new video assist monitors, you can get Blackmagic Raw out of both of those cameras. And these are also this camera is not the first camera to have both ProRes Raw and Blackmagic Raw. As I mentioned, as the C300 Mark II and the EVO 1 both have Blackmagic Raw, they also both have ProRes Raw accessibility as well. But Sigma being one, those are the only two that I know of that actually have both. So Sigma is now the third camera to offer support to both RAW formats. So, and then there's a couple other improvements. There's improvements in the director's viewfinder function, more enhanced video features. I would definitely suggest that you guys go check out Cinema 5D's website and read up on all the firmware updates. This is really exciting because if you're one of the people that likes working with RAW, but you feel Cinema DNG is just too heavy and too clunky to deal with, and it takes up way too much space, well, now you have either Blackmagic Raw or ProRes Raw. So you get the options depending on what you want, and also which NLE you're working with, because obviously DaVinci Resolve does not support ProRes Raw, and Final Cut does not support Blackmagic Raw. Now, Premiere does support both. So if you're a Premiere user, you get the best of both worlds. But right now, to me, I think Blackmagic Raw is, as of right now, the clear favorite, simply because you have way more metadata control over the raw formats compared to ProRes Raw. As of right now, you can only control the exposure. You can't change white balance, tint, ISO, none of those features. Now you can do that with Blackmagic Raw, which I think opens up a wide range of possibilities with Sigma, especially if we continue to see what things we can support. Like, if they can somehow also come away where either in ProRes Raw or Blackmagic Raw, they're enabled to offer 4K 60 frames per second in full frame, they're going to be one of the few camera companies that actually can provide that feature, especially for a RAW format. Because as of right now, I think Canon's the only one that offers that in terms of a RAW codec that can do full frame 4K 60. Canon's right now the only one that I could think of with the 1DX Mark III, and that's it. That's the only one I think that can do that. Now Canon as well as Leica with the SL2 can do 4K 60 frames per second using the full sensor readout. And with either the C500 Mark II, the 1DX Mark III, and soon to be the EOS R5, and which also possibly may be the EOS R6. We don't know about the R6, but we definitely know about the R5. They all support full frame 4K 60, which again, I've brought this up before. I'm surprised this isn't getting as much notice as it should, because this is still a market that doesn't have that much variety. Not a lot of cameras offer full frame 4K 60. They offer either higher resolutions or they offer 4K 60, but it's in a Super 35 crop for one reason or another. If Sigma can join that small batch that can offer full frame 4K 60, especially RAW, they're put in a very intriguing position, especially given the price point of the camera, which is $1,700. That makes it a very possibly enticing camera. But I think they still need to work on the menu systems, and there's a couple other things. But this is a definite right step direction for Sigma. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Let me know what you guys are. Does this new firmware update make you interested in the Sigma FP? If you do own a Sigma FP, are you excited by that? Let me know. Leave a comment below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take care, everyone.